Once again, good evening, racing fans. Welcome in for a Sunday night Kentucky Sire Stakes Championships here tonight as part of a blockbuster 15 race car. We're just 27 minutes from the opener. Here in a few minutes, we will go through tonight's changes and programming notes. But at this time, I'd like to sit it down to the brand new outdoor set in the grandstand here at the Red Mile, where our man Nick Salvi is standing by with the executive director of the Kentucky Racing Commission, Marc Guilfoil.
Thanks, Gabe. I am here with Marc Guilfoil, who 30 years ago started out with the Kentucky Racing Commission and last year was named the executive director. Pretty much everything that goes on goes through Marc, who was the first standardbred representative to take that position. Marc, welcome to the Red Mile on Sire Stake final night.
Thank you very much.
Marc's had a lot to do with what's gone on in the new format for the Sire Stakes, where this year we have $1.75 million worth of finals tonight going over 8 races. The 2-year-olds are enhanced by a new program, Marc, that you had a hand in developing with a lot of others. Tell us a little bit about what's different this year.
Well, the main noticeable difference is the dual eligibility. The Sire Stakes started in Kentucky around 75 or 78, and it was based off, obviously, the stallions standing in the state of Kentucky. Through the 70s and much of the 80s, that flourished. We had probably 100, 150 stallions standing in the state. But when things started to change a little bit up east with the slots fueled money in the racetracks, we started losing stallions in Kentucky. So we sit back one afternoon, got everybody in the industry, and sat down and tried to figure out a way to make it a little bit better. And we came up with a dual eligibility program, and that went from, at the time we were standing about 11 stallions in the state, and that switched over to 634 mares, and they're required to stay in the state for 150 days out of the year. So that's really, it's 634 economic engines we have generating money for, you know, your farmers, your fencing, feed people, farriers, down the line.
It reaches out to a lot of ancillary businesses, and a lot of the reason that you're able to have the program and have the purses continue to rise is due to the historical racing here at the Red Mile, along with a couple other revenue sources. So tell us the breakdown there. It's a little bit of that money goes to the Standardbred Development Fund and is used for purses for the Sire Stakes each year.
Yeah, that's the historical horse racing has definitely been a boost to the Kentucky Standardbred Development Fund. Also, the Breeders' Incentive Fund. We got together in a room here at the Red Mile at the clubhouse years ago and hashed it out with all the trainers and the racetracks and the Horsemen's Association, and decided that instead of the money normally the way it's spent on a Breeders' Incentive Fund, where it comes in the mail when you breed and the progeny wins, we decided to put that money and prop up the Sire Stakes program. So we figured we had to have a successful Sire Stakes program before we could start with anything else.
And we're blessed in Kentucky to have some of the leading breeding farms in the industry, and we'll speak to a couple of breeders of standardbreds here later in the program this evening after we get underway with the races. And Marc, something like that doesn't happen without the cooperation from a lot of different people. So who do we need to recognize this evening for helping us get to this point?
Well, a lot of people. Like I said, we come in. One good thing about having a small group of people, we can sit down and reason with each other. And we sit down with the Harness Horsemen's Association. We sit down with the racetracks in the state of Kentucky and the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission. We hammered out an idea. Kenny Jackson was in the room representing the breeders, and once we hammered out the idea, we took it to our real good friend, Senator Damon Thayer, in the legislature. We sold it to him. It wasn't much of a sale. He liked the idea. He said he would help us out doing the statutory changes, the regulatory changes. He actually carried the bill for us, and along with Representative Osborne and a bunch of our other good friends in the legislature, we got it passed, and so far it has been absolutely tremendous. You'll see that tonight on the racetrack with the 2-year-olds, and then next year we'll have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old crop on the track.
Next year you're going to continue, and this year's 2-year-olds will be 3-year-olds, and they'll be racing, and you're going to consider consolation races for the ones that don't make the final. That'll be new next year.
Yes, sir. In the last meeting we had, we're going to have $50,000 consolations along with $250,000 finals for all 8 races.
So it's safe to say that the horse business is flourishing here in the bluegrass thanks to a lot of different people cooperating and getting this done for us.
I tell you, I can't thank enough of all the people that I just mentioned, the cooperation that everybody's had to help us put this program together. And it's a lot of things in government look good on paper, but they don't work. This looks good on paper, and it's actually working.
We'll see it tonight. Marc, thanks for taking a couple of minutes to talk with us. We're going to kick it to a commercial and come back with someone in a couple of minutes. Thanks.
Thank you.